Roy, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Going to start the podcast by asking a question I ask every guest that appears on Spolitics, and that is name an athlete or a moment in sports that made you love sports.
Braves 92 NLCS, Braves Pirates, Sid Bream sliding in, allowing the Braves to become back to back pennant champions. Hands down, one of the most exciting baseball games I've ever witnessed in the sport. I rewatch it once a year for inspiration. That whole game 7 is still on YouTube in its entirety, every pitch.
Mm.
And I watch that thing. I watch it and then I go back and watch somebody on YouTube, God bless him, took the Atlanta Braves radio call and put it over the actual Fox Sports because it's Skip Carey and all of them on the radio. No knock on the national coverage, but man, when the hometown announcers are calling a walk off, that's just beautiful. It's
Well,
beautiful.
I guess because you grew up in both what Memphis and Birmingham.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
so the
Memphis
break.
till third grade, so whatever
Okay.
you count that as being, because you
Okay.
meet people from Memphis. Yeah, yeah, you.
They won't let you claim them.
Oh, I don't be trying, but it's just like the reporters be like, yes, so Memphis, and I'm like, wait a minute, I went to Catfish Cabin 2 times, and then we was in Birmingham, we was gone.
Okay.
It was still Memphis State when I was there.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
But nevertheless, I mean, because growing up in the South, and for a lot of people from that part of the country, a lot of people were Braves fans. So the Braves
yeah.
were your team.
Well, the Cubs is what I loved,
That's
but
what I thought. I was going to say I thought you were a Cubs fan.
just that game. That game was. I just root in the playoffs. I just root for good baseball. The Braves. I hope this makes the most. I hope this makes sense. What I'm about to say. I liked the Cubs, but the Braves had the type of black players that I liked watching play. If that makes sense, like
Hmm.
Ron Gant was a beast. Dion had all of his flair. Dion was my favorite athlete growing up. I had his baseball cleats. They ain't helped me run faster, but I had the shits. Um, and then they had Otis Nixon, who was a legit psychopath. That they're like a great player, but also like just like on some Vernon Maxwell. I don't want to Draymond him because like he wasn't antagonistic, but like once you set him off, we're gonna Steven Jackson. He was probably more of a Steven Jackson.
Hmm.
I don't bother anybody, but if you bother me, I will end this situation. There is a Phillies Braves fight that I also watch on YouTube once a year for inspiration. And somebody hit Otis Nixon, and that boy ran at the mound and halfway to the mound, foot in the air, flying karate kick. Like anytime you just see somebody do like a legit fight maneuver in a baseball fight, it's like that's not even allowed. And it's like, and this is Otis Nixon. He from that era where they smoked Newports in the dugout and all that shit. How do you even have the aerobic stamina to karate somebody?
Those were
So
different kind of players. Different kind of
yeah.
players. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, Braves had. I mean, that was a different era for black men in baseball. Period. But the Braves had low key a black ass team, and then you had Terry Pendleton, who was like the more astute. I'm gonna show y'all how to do the game the right way, but also don't hit Terry Pendleton or do anything crazy because you're gonna have to deal with Otis Nixon and Ron Gant.
Mhm. So, where would you say you stand as a baseball fan now? Because, as many people have noted throughout the years, baseball has had a tough time of maintaining a black fan base.
Oof. I'm still a fan of the sport. I'm going to Tokyo to watch Cubs Dodgers. That's gonna be a good time. I'm gonna take the boy with me, and we're gonna have some father son kickback time. Um, I I am still a fan. I believe baseball more so has a youth problem than well, there's a black problem statistically, but in terms of the bigger issue, is it blacks in the sports or is it black people watching the sport? You've taken the flair and the swag out of the sport. There's a reliever. I can try and find his name real quick if you want to get into the nerdness of it all. But there's a reliever. There's a black reliever. I don't know if he's Caribbean, whatever. He's in the diaspora. There's a brother. that play for the Rockies right now. He a relief pitcher. And anytime he strike your ass out, he jump and then do like an electric slide. Like the only thing I can compare it to is Martin Lawrence in Blue Street when he the pizza man and he come out the police station and he got the police badge and he did slide and walk. Like, and he do this in the middle of the game in spring training. He gonna get all his teammates killed. But if you allow something like that to stay in the game, that's a good thing. Like to me, the issue with black folks in baseball, and like if you really want to go there, we can have this conversation a whole hour. So I was down in Birmingham. You know, they did a Negro League tribute game at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, the oldest ballpark in the country. Is where Willie Mays took his first professional at bats. And I played my high school games there. So I went around with MLB and NPR, and we interviewed tons of people. We interviewed old Negro Leaguers. We interviewed current people. I went by my old high school and talked to the coaches there. A lot of the issues with the lack of black people in baseball isn't entirely Major League Baseball's fault. They could kick in a little more money, but there's still parts of it that still come down to black kids wanting to play the sport. So, you know, it's already priced out where you got to play travel ball year round. Like the idea of just playing baseball for 3 months in your high school or for 3 months in little league and then going on about your business the rest of the school years in middle school is dead. So you got to have parents with a disposable income to drive your ass all over the East Coast, crossing 2, 3 time zones every weekend during the school year. Hotels, food, equipment, all the registration fees for all of these leagues. That's how you stay good year round to even be remotely competitive. Andrew McCutcheon wrote an article in the Players Tribune about 10 years ago, basically saying the only reason he went pro is because he had a white teammate whose daddy saw his ability and bankrolled McCutcheon traveling with them. Because McCutcheon's family didn't have the bread nor the time. If you want to get into, you know, single parent households in the black community and all of that stuff, then the bigger issue is that if you are good at baseball, you're probably good at another sport that's probably going to give you a scholarship sooner and going to give you money faster. Baseball is guaranteed contracts, but you got to toil in the minor leagues 3, 4, 5 years, making statistically less than minimum wage. For the amount of time you put in for what the team pays you, it's less than minimum wage. Most minor leaguers have a day job. So if you're a black kid and you're a fast shortstop or you're a fast center fielder, you're probably a DB or a wide out too. And the football program make more money at the D1 level. The football program now got more money because of the NIL. Ain't the NIL faucet ain't flowing for baseball and softball, not at the same level that it is for football. So college should play baseball, big dog.
No,
Most
I
black
mean,
baseball, most black college, but this was one of the first stories I pitched at the Daily Show, and we ended up not being able to do it because Trump happened. Most black college baseball teams are predominantly white or Hispanic.
that is correct. As well as the golf teams, as well as the tennis teams. Like
So,
this idea that I always, which is why I always find it funny that I think there is a significant percentage of white people who legitimately think that white people do not go to HBCUs, and I'm like, they are there
oh,
and they're on scholarship.
every
Okay,
black person that went to an HBCU can name the white people by name. We know them.
yeah,
Mine
you with
was
the fam,
River and Ocean, and they ran cross country. Fact check that in the comments.
not river and ocean.
Literally, those were their names. Two white, like that is the most Trader Joe Whole Food ass name, and they were cool. They played spades and shit in the lobby. They come through Gibbs Hall, and we showed them love because they never tried to be. They didn't try to wigger it. They, motherfucker, my name is River. Good to meet you.
Right.
And we kicked it. So like the idea that well, Major League Baseball need to do more. Okay, they got the RBI program to get the black kids excited about it, but the RBI really only carry you to about third grade, fourth grade, and even
Right.
still, RBI is only 2, 3 months out of the year. So you look at like if you look at Birmingham, right? Like if we look at the city of Birmingham, my high school was one of the ones that was halfway decent at baseball because we would schedule games out in the county. We didn't have there was let's just talk right now. Right now in the city of Birmingham, there's 8 high schools. There's only 3 serviceable baseball fields. They don't drain well. They do not have the capacity. to carry a bunch of games at a regular basis. If it rained on Monday, you might not play a game again till Thursday, even if the sky is clear Tuesday, Wednesday. Because in the hood, you get them deep ass puddles so you don't get to play as frequently as you want to, or you're playing double, triple headers. Now you out till 10 o'clock at night on a school night. So and that's partly because so many cities have cut park services. Mm-hmm. And we can get into the crime prevention of giving kids something to do versus taking the park money and hiring more cops to arrest the kids for not having anything to do. There's a lot of that's happening in a lot of cities in this country. So the level of accessibility of baseball as a sport, if you're Black, it's hard enough even when you're trying to play it. And then your mama can't drive you nowhere. And then you got a coach from the football team coming in saying, we can get you 30,000 and 2 white girls right now if you sign this commitment letter.
Not
baseball don't
girls.
give you no white. Baseball don't give you. You don't even get a white girl with baseball.
You don't even get a white girl.
You gotta get to AAA before you get your first white girl.
I mean, it is a shame though, because as somebody like you, like baseball was my first love as well. Growing up in Detroit, big Tiger fan even now. So happy we had the season that we just had, and looking forward to they're coming out here to LA. So I'm gonna go see them play the Dodgers at the end of March. But it's all the things that you said. It's lack of access, lack of resources, and it is just a coolness factor that football and basketball have that baseball doesn't necessarily have. And so kids are much more attracted to that than they are to playing baseball. But I will say too, I think another problem that they're experiencing is, and I think this goes for all sports. Like sports are becoming more expensive regardless if it's basketball. Like the amount of games that high school and youth basketball players are playing is alarming. What is happening? It is absurd. I mean, they're paying like 75 to 100 games a year, and then we're shocked when they're in their early 20s, they get to the NBA and they got to do load management. It's like the professionalization of youth sports across the board is really something that is disheartening, because as those of us who grew up having rec centers, being able to play in the neighborhood, it's like that shit don't exist no more. Like it's going away very, very rapidly. It's like it's basically gone.
And you also have parents that are living vicariously through these kids. These parents got hoop dreams of their own as well. There's a little bit of that. And they're pushing the kids too hard. I saw somewhere someone said that you should be cross-training your children and they should be playing other sports in the off season because all sports help you with other sports. So the idea of only playing baseball and then you're just mentally and emotionally drained. And I also feel like to a degree that leads to a lot of that post-retirement depression shit that these athletes be dealing with, because who are you? All you've done is hold this ball since you was 10, and now you 34, and you got to figure out what your likes are. Because you ain't even been to a summer camp, big dog. You ain't done nothing. And so I think that having parents that understand that kids need a variety of activities, I think is an important part of it. But I think by and large, when I think about why I was attracted to baseball, I liked baseball because it was the ultimate social but isolating sport. Like I didn't like football. Like, okay, like to the Memphis to Birmingham thing. So when we moved to Birmingham, I was third grade and I tried to play 75-pound football. And it's too late. Like once you're trying to play football third, fourth grade, the aggression is there within the kids. And I never would like we was in Memphis. I played church baseball at Mississippi Boulevard Baptist Church. I played a little bit of soccer, kind, polite sports. Yeah, the football, these motherfuckers gangster disciples in the fourth grade. Like we was in the hood, we're in West End. And I'm like, I'm not finna tackle no gangster disciple, and then I gotta run home the next 5 days. So give me baseball. And baseball was fun. There was flamboyance to it. I remember Dave Stewart. Dave Stewart used to have the death stare, when he'd have the glove up over his, and all, the bib down here, the glove up here. It was like he literally looked like a ninja. Like that shit was cool to me. I don't think you have a lot of that. I mean, God bless Mookie Betts, because I really feel like he's putting the culture of baseball on his back for Black Americans too, which I think is also a very important part of the equation, is that because of the international influence and the influx of international players into the sport now, if you're a team, I don't necessarily have to get a local, if you will, in terms of an American. So I think that allowing the international players in to have their own flamboyance, to have their own flair to the game, would help bring some brothers back to the damn sport. But I just don't think that, I think baseball is run by traditionalists, conservative, very conservative, not politically, behaviorally conservative. Well, probably conservative like that too, but you know what I'm saying.
A little bit of both, yes.
Yeah, it's the idea of pull your pants up, you're wearing like I saw there was a post about Jazz Chisholm. I don't. It was just some spring training, just Jazz being happy, just a motherfucker happy, and taking grounders at second base. And somebody in the comments talking about the jewelry and why you got all that stuff on. It's very pull up your pants type of verbiage. I mean, something as stupid as the Yankees letting people have a beard. God bless you.
I know the fact that they're just now deciding to lift the facial hair requirement is very on brand for baseball. It's like baseball is still one of those sports that, it feels like segregation, but it's not segregation. It just kind of
Yeah.
feels Jim Crow, but it's like
Yeah.
despite our presence, you're like, what is this? Why do I feel like I'm not drinking at the proper water fountain sometimes when I'm
So,
watching
you know
baseball?
what sport don't feel like that though? When you're there, NASCAR. Have you ever?
I
You
have.
ever been to a NASCAR race?
I've been to the Coca-Cola 600 twice.
How did it feel? How did it feel? Like, just as a Black person.
But see, I hesitate to give my experience because I wasn't in the stands with the folks. I was going on like some VIP type of shit. So it's like a little.
But even with that, like
I had a good ass time. I had a great time.
I was at the Atlanta 500, 400, whatever it was, a couple weeks ago. I saw Jeezy and Big Boy just walking around, just like, okay, this is different. Like, I saw a brother in a Morehouse jacket. He saw me in my FAMU shit, and we make eye contact, look over, and it's like 40 more Black college, and it's a whole group. So I was more shocked at that. Like that, I've never seen at a baseball game. Like one thing that has been cool though is like baseball teams. Now I don't know how this going to go with the diversity and the DEI dying, but there are a lot of baseball teams now that have HBCU nights. On HBCU days. I went with Tom Joyner. I've gone with Tom Joyner the last 2 years to Dallas, to Texas Rangers. They have a HBCU day and give out the tickets and donate to the foundations and blah blah blah. So it's not like baseball didn't have a relationship with Black people, but it's just to get Black people to come and watch the game, to get Black people to really care about it enough to play it. There has to be a player that looks like you, that you can identify with, or that you can relate to. And I think the lack of flair and the lack of swag, like you don't even see baseball players walking in the tunnel to the game. Just let me see your outfit. What you wore to the stadium today, dog? Can we just see that? Like they won't even give you that. So,
No.
and most baseball players are just very much blue collar mentality. So I don't know what you would get out of them anyway. But you know, like remember, and I ain't saying we need racists back in baseball, but remember how good you felt when a Black person hit a home run off John Rocker from the Braves.
It was a moment always.
It was like a Black person dunking on a Boston Celtic in the 80s. It just felt right. Like it just, you need storylines. You need people that are like as interesting and as appealing as Shohei Ohtani is. Shohei is really, he's kind of a low key person. If we're just talking about some face of the league type of shit, he should show up and do his job. You're gonna need something else, other than that. I love the fact that that Travis Hunter was talking shit. And I don't even think he was talking shit. I think he was talking his shit about saying that playing both sides in football is harder than both sides in baseball, which I kind of agree with if we're just talking physical wear and tear. I'm not going to
Oh yeah,
compare covering
for
somebody
sure.
running a 4.2 to hitting the fast. I still think hitting the fastball the hardest thing to do in all of athletics, next to maybe driving a Formula One car.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
think driving an F1 car is harder than hitting a fastball because there's like you watch the show and like they got to have like a 7,000th of a second reaction time to whatever. I would argue F1 is harder, but I don't know. I just think that I'm thankful for players like Mookie Betts, and even something as simple. So, like for the last 2 years with MLB Network, right? I've hosted the All MLB Awards show,
Right.
where they have something as simple as 20, 30 athletes in the building, and you know what? We're gonna give y'all some trophies. The season just ended. Come on to the room, get the trophy, and they're building it eventually to be their version of NFL honors, right? First year was fine. It was cool. Second year, way more players showed up. We got Shota Imanaga from the Cubs. We got him to sing Go Cubs Go, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but this is a reserved Japanese dude that's just over here low key to throw fastballs. He's performing. He's coming out of his shell. So if he'll come out of his shell, then maybe the rest of y'all won't be so tight. And then y'all will come out and kick it. Because baseball players low key, they the funniest
Oh,
out of the big four.
they have a lot of personality. It's just I do think that they're often discouraged from that, and they could be a little guarded. And I get it. Depending on the media market too, is that where they may not feel quite as free to because then you become under scrutiny and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of players just don't want the hassle of people scrutinizing what they wear and what they say, and like they may not want the hassle. But
Yeah.
I like yourself, I have been around baseball players in those off air, like everybody's not around moments, and those cats, they also have incredible stories, because people have to realize baseball players, when they're on the road, like they're in cities 3-4 days. Like they can have whole families in about 10 cities, okay? Because they are there a minute, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different experience. And the stories they tell, I promise you, it's like
Like,
some of the best shit you've ever heard.
here's what I'm trying to say. Baseball needs an Anthony Edwards. And I don't know who that could be. Mookie Betts is Steph Curry. He's
Right.
exceptional and likable, $1 million smile. That's important. But you also need chaos Negro. You need
So you think Anthony Edwards is a chaos agent?
he talked you saw the clip of him talking to Obama. He was talking to Obama like that was his little brother. Oh yeah, what you did. You killed bin Laden. That's what's up. You can't dunk though. It's like that ain't literally what he said, but
it was that tone. It was that.
it's fun. You don't know what's going to come out
Right.
of his mouth. He's not a villain. I'm just saying he is himself authentically at all times, and he's allowed to be that without penalty.
Right. That's why he
God
got like
forbid.
$300,000 worth of fines already, because he
Yeah.
just talking his shit all the time. It's like
God forbid
there's
you
a
take too
camera.
long jogging around the bases in a home run strut and somebody get mad at you. Jazz Chisholm hit a homer. He do a Euro step, and this is when he was with the Marlins. They was 80 games out of first place, and he was still. He can't carry it alone. Like somebody
Right.
got to help him. And I just really feel like the sport would benefit. Like when you talk about like somebody like even say Ronald Acuna, who we're talking like Latin players now.
Hmm.
Let them have their flair. Let them be who they are. Let them style around the bases. And that will eventually bring in the next generation of people. And there's just so many people, also the baseball writers too, who are just hell bent on the game being played a certain way. And I just think that you have to be very careful with tradition, because sometimes tradition is just dead people's baggage and it's not going to benefit you.
I'm
You
glad you
know,
said that, because that actually brings about another interesting conversation that's been had in the NBA. And I'm not sure if you saw it, but we were just talking about Anthony Edwards, who said that he really didn't want to be the face of the league. All right. Although that's a process where you're more chosen as opposed to you choosing to do it. So, like, if people decide he's the face, and there's really nothing he can do about it. LeBron, on the other hand, responded by saying he doesn't blame Anthony Edwards for feeling that way because he said, like, who would want to be the face? And it brought up this really interesting conversation because a lot of people think that part of what's holding the NBA back and why, when you watch NFL coverage, for example, like those NFL guys, like they ride for the NFL. Like for the most
Mhm.
part, they will definitely be critical, but they ride for it. When you look at NBA coverage, by and large, people are brutally honest. Like, and really, a lot of things. I think a lot of this is centered around how the NBA guys, how they commentate and talk about the game, which people love the fact that they're authentic, that they tell the truth, that they don't sugarcoat, that they ain't bullshitting. But some people have wondered if the NBA conversation is often too negative and too toxic. And in part, some of people blame history. That because of there is a reluctance to let certain things go, certain people go, like Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
because of course his name, surfaced through all of this.
He's the bar by which
He's
all
the
are
bar,
compared.
but is he so much the bar roar that naturally it leads to us tearing down greatness of everybody we don't feel like meets that bar in whatever way we measure it? Like, is the reverence and the fixation with Michael Jordan sort of bad for the NBA as we try to move to a place where the players of today are actually celebrated for their own greatness?
Yeah, I think it's bad. I think that we don't appreciate what's happening now based on the rules and the dynamics of now versus that era. And then you got people that's older than you and me that will just scream Bill Russell
Oh
until the
my
day
God.
they die
Oh,
because Bill
100%.
Russell also fought racism on the way to the stadium every day. And that's a different type of stress. So, we could argue different generations, but I think the cross generation arguments are not fair to the current day players. I do think the dynamic of the criticism, though, I think that that's interesting. I think you have to take that with a grain of salt if you're a current player, because also there's not nearly as many frank and verbally blatant players as there are now covering the game as there was in the 80s and 90s. You get what I'm saying? Like
I do.
most most basketball pre-game shows and post-game shows inside the NBA is an anomaly because they found very opinionated players who had the respect of the sport, who would like Charles Barkley is the only, like, that's one of the few people that could come in and say those things and make those accusations and make those assessments because it comes from a technical place. I'm trying to think, like, Dr. J never got in the booth to critique Jordan. If I'm trying to compare like overlapping type eras, you get what I'm saying? So I don't think that it's realistic to expect people to be as kind as they were when hate is what sells. And these are media companies and they are looking for engagement. This is debate culture. They will pull a question out they ass on a slow day. Ain't nothing more fun than watching sports debate shows in June when it's only baseball. Oh, them motherfuckers be scraping the bottom of the barrel. They refuse to talk about midseason baseball because it
Oh
ain't.
yeah, because that's when you get shit like, can LeBron fight a bear? You be like, damn, like, where did this
Yes,
come from?
yes, and they will have two breaks about LeBron versus Bear. I I think that being the face of the league is always going to come with some degree of criticism, and stand culture is also part of the problem too. Let's not forget. I don't think it's all on the broadcasters. I think the broadcasters fuel the fire a bit, but it's also fans. Some of y'all are weird. Some of y'all are weird, only riding for one person for the rest of your life, like this is a gang. None of these players know you. None of them truly care. Just appreciate the sport and the fact that you got LeBron putting up XYZ number. I think LeBron round the corner from 50K points. By the time this podcast air, he'll have it. And it's going to be people going, well, he needed more games than Jordan to do it. Jordan did it. Imagine if Jordan came out of high school. Jordan wasted 4 years at playing for Dean Smith. So if that makes you feel good to argue and belittle it and what about it, I just think that you're denying yourself an opportunity, to enjoy this. But you have to have some degree of honesty. If they're gonna ride on Embiid about about taking too many games off. That's a fair assessment. If you feel like y'all shouldn't be taking, like if a player goes, y'all shouldn't be taking this many games off because the fans paid blah 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 blah. Well, that's a different mindset from the '90s NBA that we came upon. Also, the contracts are much more lush. So you might have people that are a little bit more lazy and a little less incentivized to lose weight or do a push up. Maybe that's what happened with Luca. So if that's the case, as an analyst, I think it's your job to call stuff as you see it. And I just think the dynamics of the sport have changed. But at the end of the day, I think that it's on the fans to appreciate what's happening because the talent and the people in these media companies and the producers, they're not going to just glorify everybody because that's not ratings and that's not profit. And we paid a gajillion billion dollars for the rights to show this NBA game. And I'm going to create whatever story and narrative I need to create so that your ass tune in because that's all I care about. Most companies don't care about goodness or doing the right thing. I think that's one of the I think that's one of the places where we fail media as a whole is expecting media to be wholesome and have morals. It is not. And that's not just sports media. We're talking media. We're talking news as a whole, like the idea of doing what you believe is the most profitable thing even if it's not the right thing. Um that's always been the MO.
Media is about profit, and you're right. The problem is, and where the lines get, and maybe where I'm a little bit more emotional about it, or I'm less of that mindset, is because you're completely right. The problem is when I decided to become a reporter in college, uh, journalism very much was considered to be a public good. It wasn't really supposed to be this huge profit industry that it became. I compare it to maybe the NCAA, right? The NCAA started off quote unquote amateur to some degree, never with the imagination that one day this would be billions of dollars in this sport, which as more money came in, it sort of changed what was the goal and what was the mission.
Correct.
And I just don't know if journalism and media, and those are two separate things. If you're talking about media, yes, media is for profit. I just don't know if journalism can be that. Not if it's
I
supposed to
agree.
function in the way that it's supposed to.
Well, it's supposed to function like that, but then media, we also have to separate the difference between journalism and editorial,
Correct.
punditry, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think that those things are merged together as well. And I think that's part of the issue is that the average person watching a news channel can't tell the difference between opinion and fact. And I think that's part of where, well, if the people don't care, well then let's just give them whatever the hell they're willing to consume and then let's collect the dollars on the backside with the ads. I really do not like the fact that most media companies are not tied to just telling the truth just for the sake of telling the truth. If you look at, before we even get to MSNBC, let's get in on Jeff Bezos with everything with the Washington Post. You have the opinions page. The opinions page is supposed to be the one little corner of the paper where anybody can say whatever the fuck they feel. For as long as they meet the word count, you got correct punctuation, you should be able to say exactly what it is you feel. And you got Bezos going, nah, if you on some different shit, we ain't putting that in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's not journalism anymore. It's not and so you look at a lot of these media companies and I feel like they are definitely succumbing to the pressure of whatever appeases shareholders or whatever gets ratings. And when you look at certain networks and you look at certain people on those networks, the network can go, okay, you're a good journalist, and good journalism should ruffle a few feathers. But if you don't want a feather ruffle in there because you think that ultimately they're, well, you're gonna call people out, and we don't want that. You gotta go. Don't tell me Joy Reid's firing was about ratings. Don't tell me that. Like that's not. I choose not to believe it. And this is coming from Comedy Central, where I've been on ratings calls and in ratings meetings, and I've gotten the emails. Good news, gang. We're up 14% in 71 to 73-year-old. You can spin ratings into whatever kind of victory or loss you want it to be. It's like ratings is like somebody's outfit. You can just say it looked nice, or you can say it looked bad, and that's the truth. So it's surely more involved in that. And so when you start looking at the idea of what quote good journalism is, like we joked last night, we joked the other day on CNN, we were talking about Gail King going to space.
Right.
And Gail King finna go to space in one of the Bezos rockets, and I jokingly but kind of serious mentioned Joy Reid, and basically what I said on my show is that if you're a black woman and you're good at journalism, they trying to get rid of you. Don't go to space, Gail, because they got Joy. Now they're trying to get to like one by one, and so I think that good journalism to a degree and asking the right questions to a degree, I think a lot of companies are starting to find that to be bad for business. And I think that business is appeasing the government and staying out of their crosshairs because they believe that the government will ultimately put them in a fucking figure four leg lock that creates a space where they feel like they can no longer make money. And then you spending gugobs of money in court. But it's media's in a weird position because of what the White House is doing. Like I saw on Twitter one day, um, I don't even know, is the Associated Press back in the White House briefing room yet? Or are they still iced
I think they're
from the
still out. Like they were not in the Zelensky, Trump, JD Vance.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then you had
but Russian
people.
state was in there, but they
Oh, of course.
you're right.
So I saw somebody on Twitter that was saying that the press should stand with the Associated Press and no longer cover the White House. And to me, that's a tough one, and I think that therein lies the issue. Like if you look at me, where essentially I am a part of the media. I'm on CNN, which a lot of people don't like. I see the comments sometimes when I post clips from the show. Like, we love you, Roy, but I ain't watching that network. I watch it on YouTube. I'm like, CNN still getting the money from YouTube.
Right. Don't tell him that, Roy. Though. Don't
But
tell him.
thank you.
Right.
How do you fight while still trying to honor your own mission? How do you fight for your colleagues while still trying to honor the mission of serving the people or enriching the people or doing whatever it is you believe is the right thing to do to make the world a better place? And I think that's the issue that a lot of journalists are going to be up against in their newsrooms. I really think that for what happened to Joy Reid, I really think that there is a greater dialogue to be had at the state and local levels about all of the shit starters with a pad and a pen who trying to find the truth. Are you answering to an editor that answers to a conglomerate that owns the paper that don't want that type of stuff in there? Assuming that you're at a paper that still has a local reporter, because
Correct.
most of those are
And
gone.
most of those are gone. And I am firmly starting off as someone who started off in newspapers, local newspapers. If you look at the number of jobs that are lost in different industries, journalism is among the highest. And a lot of it is because of what has happened at the local level, and not just with newspapers, but also with TV. And as I've said to people many times, especially those who kind of they hate the idea of paying for a subscription because everybody was like, well, we used to get this for free. Well, now you got to pay. Well, that's because good journalism is actually expensive, very expensive.
Yeah.
Hence why a lot of companies are getting out of it because of what it costs. If they could get the same amount of money by just having somebody on there spouting an opinion, being informed or not informed, they're going to do that because that costs money. Like I think people would be stunned at how much a show like 60 Minutes costs. It costs a ton of money to do that show. And it's the same at the local level. Investigative journalism is hard. It requires a lot of money. And when you don't support those kind of media outlets, what happens is you don't know what's happening in your community. You don't know who's minding the store. And trust me when I tell you, politicians, CEOs, all the people in power love the idea of destroying journalism because there's so much you wouldn't know. Even now, with all that's happening with Doge, the number of people I read in the comments who are like, well, where are the journalists and why aren't they reporting? Oh, I can tell you why they're not. It's because you same people who now all of a sudden want the journalists to come in with the cape on are the same ones also calling us the enemy of the state, who are also saying that we don't deserve to have our jobs. Like, no, 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 no. That's not the way that this works. So you're right. It's a very hard time in this business for journalists, period. Very hard time for Black journalists, super hard time for Black journalists who have called out Trump before or who have gotten in his crosshairs or that of this administration, period, because these companies have shown they're not going to ride with you. They're not. They're
I
going to sacrifice you and put you on the spittle like anybody else.
I said at the correspondence dinner 2 years ago that the problem with the truth reaching people is that the truth is behind a paywall, but opinions are free. Put the opinions behind the paywall. And the first people to suffer when these situations happen are reporters that cover Black and brown communities. We had a
Mm-hmm.
story we were trying to do right before I left Daily Show where they were doing ICE raids. This is early. This is Biden ICE raid. This is just regular deportation stuff. Latinos, the Latinos in Atlanta had formed strategies against ICE raids on how to lay low. They had their own carpools. They weren't going to the bus stop. They have their own ecosystem on how to move in plain sight, but in hiding. So that's my guy to help me figure out how to tell the story at the state level. He got laid off. And so they're not going to talk to me because I'm from the big bad Paramount and it's Daily Show, so it's weird. You don't know if I'm making fun of you. So I needed that reporter as the middleman vouch to even be able to amplify the story. It's the same thing with the Chicago South Side stuff that we was doing. We was walking the South Side talking with people who intervene on gang beefs
Mm-hmm.
for volunteer. So it was a local reporter from the Tribune that like you're not getting that type of access at the national level without a local vouch. And so those people are important, but those are the people covering those stories and telling those stories about us. They're the first ones to get let go. And I don't think that that's going to change. The thing that's frustrating though is that for the one side, we can go, a conglomerate is not going to promote truth in journalism across the board because they go, oh, well, that's not profitable, or we're going to anger some people, either our shareholders or some shareholder who doesn't agree with the story, investors, or we're going to anger the White House. So we're not going to cover that story. But then you have media at the local level who have to have a paywall to survive. But even with the paywall, it gives you even fewer subscribers, which restricts your ability to do your mission, which is to inform the people. And eventually you die off anyway, or you have to keep cutting costs to the point where you're just running wire stories. So it's like on both ends of the sword. Money, I believe, is part of the issue, but I don't know if we'll ever be, especially under Trump, if you're not gonna get subsidized
No, no,
journalism anymore.
no. That is a dead conversation for a
Them
lot of
kids
reasons.
ain't getting lunch at school. They about to not get lunch. Free lunch about to be gone. So
Mm-hmm.
they definitely not paying to have, like, God bless PBS.
I know.
Hope
Luckily,
they can stay on.
I don't think the majority of their funding comes from the government. They do have a chunk. And you see already they talking about defund PBS. I'm like, guys, Sesame Street can't live. Like, what are we doing? Like, it can't live. I mean, I think it was already on its last legs as it was. But I want to get to some political stuff real quick. And for those who don't know, Roy's got a great show. Who knew that politics could be fun and not so traumatizing? Thanks to I have I got news for you. I appreciate that, Roy. You're one of the few political programs I can actually watch without wanting to, kind of slam my face into a brick wall. But you know, I would love. I saw the episode after this, but just for this forum here, when as you're watching this Donald Trump, President Zelensky from Ukraine and JD Vance meeting, As you're watching this, what is going through your mind? I need to know. Like, I wish I could get the Roy Wood Jr. mental play-by-play that was happening as you are watching this shit show go down in front of the American people.
So, for reference, Trump Zelensky went at it about noon, 1 o'clock ish on
Hmm.
Friday. We tape at 6 p.m. on Fridays. We were in the middle of rehearsal, and then after rehearsal, they go, Trump and Trump and Zelensky got into it, and they was cussing each other out. We got to rewrite the whole top of the show. So, I duck off with the writers and just watching clips, and we just reading body language. But you got to remember, like, the gift and curse of what we do at CNN on Saturday nights is that my job is to just tell you what happened. For the people who haven't watched the show, it's a fake ass game show that quiz you on the news. That's it. This week, this happened. Who said it? Who did it? Who's responsible? That's it. It's a speed read of the week that was. The downside is that we really can't get into the weeds the way John Oliver did or the way Bill Maher did. SNL had Elon jokes flying through. Elon wasn't even at the meet. So they can go to crazy town and be funny, but we just have to inform you. So it's just looking at what happened and then picking out the moments. Zelensky made the eyebrow when Trump said he's respected. JD Vance keep coming in like the little homie trying to get respect, acting like JD Vance was like talking to Zelensky like he was the one that's got the gun. You know what I mean? You know how you see like two dudes yelling at a dude, and there's one dude, yeah, and I'm crazy, and I kill him. It's like, but we know you don't have a gun. Stop it. Stop it. Like that. That was fun to watch. But then in the back of your head, you still like, damn, this might start World War III, dog. This shit is
I say
this
this
is
all the
crazy.
time, bro. It's like America, this season of America would be great if I didn't actually live here. Like if I didn't
Hey,
actually live here, it would be great.
I think part of the issue with war, though, and I don't know quite how to fix this, but from a journalistic standpoint, I don't feel like we truly show people what war looks like. Like I go down weird Reddit rabbit holes. All right. I've seen and I've always been weird like that. Like I can't explain it, but like when you see like soldier cell phone footage from Guantanamo or an Al Qaeda beheading or like carnage in Iraq, ISIS, like videos like once you get into the house you bombed that they only show you on the wide shot in a country music video, and then you see footage from a soldier's GoPro and you see what war does and you see what bombs do and you see what these weapons actually do to the human body. It's hard to be on board with anything that could lead to more of that. And there's a reason why even with the footage in Gaza and Israel, they do it on a wide shot. They pan it real fast. Just so, oh yeah, it was a bomb. You just like for the most part, we associate rubble with war.
Hmm.
That's all they show you is just rubble. Pick a country, and they just show you rubble, and that somehow makes it more politically digestible. But I think if regular, everyday Americans saw what could potentially happen on it, like if you ain't queasy at heart, motherfucker, go Google drone bomb footage. Pick a country that and it's what's really dark though. Some of that shit still be funny. There was a video. I know comedians are dark, Jemele. There was a video of a Ukrainian drone above a Russian soldier, and the drone itself is the bomb. Like you just fly it down and detonate, right? And the bomb is above him, and the Russian soldier looks up at the drone, and he know it's a wrap. He know it's a wrap. Motherfucker hold his hand up to the drone. Motherfucker pull out a Newport, lit that bit, took a drag, and then nodded at the drone, and that was that. Like, it's so odd to see shit like that up close the media and the news media would be doing people, I think, a valuable service. It's terrible, it's horrible, but if you showed the carnage of war just a little bit more, I don't know how gung ho we'd be. And don't forget, in war, our troops die too.
Mhm.
And so there is an element of this, the visual sanitization of human conflict that has happened, that I think has made us all far more content with war, because it's all electronic and it's drones and it's infrareds, and then they show you, you know, here's a wide shot of the bomb, and like, no, go on, take that camera on up in there, show it to people for real. Because the only time you get the real shit, now it's a documentary,
Mhm.
and then it wins an Oscar. It wins an Oscar because it's powerful, because you cannot ignore it. There was one a few years ago called the White Helmets. That's a dope one that everybody should see. The White Helmets are this group of people who, once a building is bombed, we are the ones who are first responding to pull people out of the rubble. And there's munitions that still have not gone off, that sometimes still go off, or they come back and bomb a place after the fact. So, you know, I think that how war is covered could help to contribute to ending some wars, but that's a tough thing to push on somebody who's just watching the news and then Family Feud is coming on right after. That's why they put them game shows on. I used to joke about that on stage. They put game shows on right after the evening news so you feel better. And then it goes right into sitcoms.
Mhm.
Like the idea that you can know everything that's fucked up in the world, and now Wheel of Fortune. I'm sorry, what?
Right.
Didn't we just bomb somebody? Yes, we did. And now, an all new episode of Family Feud. Hey, y'all, it's your boy Steve Harvey. Hope you enjoyed that war coverage. It's time to play the feud. You know,
Well,
I don't know, but again, showing war with that level of truth, I don't know if that's good for business.
now, Roy, in this political environment that can be, as we just talked about, a little bit tenuous. You're in a different space, sort of, because you are a comedian, but you're a comedian that also tells the truth and is also very politically aware. Um, what do you think was the key for you, kind of finding where you fit in this moment?
Mm, I've just tried to be who I am. There's a Alabama's first black millionaire, A.G. Gaston. Um, he huge philanthropist. Was a supporter of the civil rights movement. He had a hotel in Birmingham, the Gaston Motel, where most civil rights leaders stayed when they came to town, because it was a safe, like on some Green Book type shit, like that was a
Mm-hmm.
safe place, and soldiers would line up, Black Panthers or whatever, to protect the spot and all of that. But he's always poured his money into the community and used his money to back people that were fighting. Um, he had a series of boys clubs, and he had a quote. His quote was, "Find a need and fill it." And that's just one I've lived by. Like, they used to preach that to us when we was little kids at the A.G. Gaston Boys Club, and that's just stuck with me. And so for me, I've always just tried to use humor as a vehicle to me, the perfect joke or the perfect message informs white people or non-black people, informs white people of something they didn't know, and then it gets black people to go, that's what I've been trying to tell you. So my first three stand-up specials were just race and politics and the country and all of that stuff. The one I just did for Hulu, that was more about us on a human level. I called it Lonely Flowers because that's what we are. We all beautiful. We don't talk to each other. We don't come together no more. And so this idea of trying to use what we're going through as a people as a vehicle for humor, it's hard. But I enjoy it because there's also not a lot of people doing it like this. when I first got to Daily Show, and I gotta like really give Trevor Noah a shout out for this because, when I got to Daily Show, I think the biggest difference between me and Trevor as black men is that I'm very angry as a person. I don't show it a lot. Like people don't like me. You ain't never seen me in a bad mood or nothing like that. But very angry about what's happening in this country and what's going on in this country. But I'm not a yeller. I'm not a fighter. That's not my strategy. For me, it's humor. And if I can use humor, if I can make it funny, if I can make the point and make it funny, I feel like I'm as effective as anyone that chooses to be a sledgehammer. So my approach to any issue is first to figure out a way to find some sort of entry point that tricks you into paying attention to the actual punch that's coming behind it. So, when I started a Daily Show, first piece we did was me and Jordan Klepper doing a ride along with the Madison Police Department. They had just shot an unarmed black man 4 months prior. Let's see if there's some humor there. Y'all taking bias training? Dope. I want to take the training. Bring the cameras. Oh, 20th anniversary Million Man March? I want to go. Hey, Trevor, can I go? Cool? All right, cool. Let's take the cameras. See what's going on. And so to be able to try and find humor in these very, unfunny situations, especially unfunny situations for black people. Like we was down in the forest at Cop City in Atlanta. These folks out there dying in shootouts with the police, trying to keep them from building a police training facility that's ultimately going to flood black neighborhoods downstream. Let's take the cameras. And to me, I don't know. I take pride in that because there's not a lot of people doing that this way in comedy or in journalism. I kind of sit on a weird line, but I think I have a unique ability to reach and connect with people who wouldn't have necessarily seen the point I was trying to make coming. And to me, that's an important part of whatever the hell it is we're supposed to be fighting for. I think one problem is that, I think within our race, talking Black Americans specifically, we're often quick to critique how other people choose to approach this fight as if they're not in the fight. That shit I don't like. But it's nothing I can do about it either. It's like when, so I did a ride along with Compton Fire during the LA wildfires. Compton, the LA County Fire Department, Engine 16 in Compton, they're having to cover twice as much space. They had to cover twice as much area because all of the other firefighters is up the hill fighting the big shit, right? And so there's still regular emergencies happening. Still car crashes, still regular house fire, still still motherfucker drove into the river, got to go get them. At no point do the people up the hill, do the firefighters come up the hill, come down the hill, and ask the other firefighters what have they been doing, and say that they're not doing enough. And I think that sometimes when you look at, it's easy to look at Black people who aren't necessarily in the same part of the battlefield as you and assume that they aren't fighting. And I think that's a big misunderstanding to me within our race. It doesn't stop me from my approach. My approach is my approach. Like that's what I do. I think that's what makes us special. I think it's no different than bees. You watch the honey, you go get the pollen, you niggas fight the hornets if they come over here tripping. And do your job. And so like that's to me what's beautiful about us is that at the end of the day, it's still all about just bettering our race and bettering the country as a whole. If Black folks good, America good. I wish more people understand that.
what made you? Because Lonely Flowers is funny, but it's also very thoughtful. I mean, a lot of your comedy is, but this especially because I think, when we look back on it, even if we're able to look back on it now with it not being that long ago, but when we look back on behaviorally how much COVID changed us and how it made us even more
Yeah.
isolated, made us more even more tribal, maybe to some degree. It is really something that I think, psychologically, we will understand a major mood shift in this country. What made you decide, even though you did tell a story that kind of felt like it was what ignited this, but nevertheless, given the type of comedy you do, this to me was still a bit of a departure. What made you decide that you were going to focus something that was funny, but around the themes of us being more isolated, us being more lonely, us creating more space from one another?
Yeah, we're disconnected and we're happy to be disconnected. Like would rather not. Like I joke about it in the special. Like you don't want nobody calling you out the blue. You used to
You
look
get mad
forward.
at it.
You used to look forward to unknown numbers. Who could it be? Uh, shit, I built my whole prank call career
Oh my
off
God!
of
Now, can you imagine trying to start that now, Roy? Like you be in trouble when nobody
impossible.
ever pick up the phone.
Impossible. There's no way you could do prank calls now. Nobody would care to answer the phone. Um, so I had a partner from college, and we, if you would have asked me in college, I would have figured to be his best man at his wedding. And he got engaged, and I didn't even get an invite. And so I'm man enough to say that hurt. So so I call him up and we talk about it for a minute. And basically what it boiled down to was you're never around. You never have time. Anytime, even when you come down this way for a show, you don't even have time for a drink after the show. You don't have to, like, basically going, there have been so many times where I've tried to connect with you that you rebuffed or just whatever the situation was, the answer ended up being no, that I just don't figure you to even want to be a part of anything. And it was such a fair assessment of where I was and, the way I've been carrying myself that I don't know. I had to do a little bit more self inventory about being intentional because I did like, no, I care about you. Like, this is like, you want people supposed to be carrying my casket when I die. I got you down. I put you on the casket carry list. And like, I need to work on this relationship. So you look at, I looked at that and it just forced me to take a long look at myself. And then it's just like, oh, wow, we're all disconnected. Don't nobody want to talk to nobody. Like, we're just literally looking for comfort. Like even when you think about like dating, right? And the idea that like you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember seeing this many single women with dogs and cats. Like in my 20s, the 40-year-olds I know, they didn't have no dogs. They didn't have no like the idea of pouring love into something. Like that's it gives you a sense of worth. It gives you a sense of purpose. This weird shit about being poly or like Neo's four girlfriends. All right. Is it weird or did all five of them just go, hey, this feels good. So fuck it. Let's do it. That wasn't the norm a generation ago, 2 generations ago. So I'm less inclined to knock people that behave like that because at least they're trying to find some form of connection and polyamory. Like the idea that you're supposed to get everything emotionally and physically from one person, maybe that's not completely true. And your grandparents did the best they could because that was the options back then. Your granddaddy didn't have black people meet to go sneak off and find somebody else.
He had
So
IG models, granddaddy had
yeah,
IG models to look at.
yeah. I mean, just case in point, like your granddaddy had a family around the corner. Nowadays, that family's in another country. That's what technology has done. Like, I just think that it became easy to have food delivered to your house and the fact that even something as simple as like that's why like nobody like I don't think most men will admit it, but like you ever see like these videos for like man camps and
I'm
come
glad
be
I've
a
never seen
man.
that.
There's like I forget what it's called, but it's like a bunch of men in their 40s and 50s doing UFC shit in the forest and punching and hugging and forcing themselves through tasks, and then they hug and cry it out afterwards. It's because you're lonely, or you never had a hug, you never had a real connection. And as a man, nobody probably ever checked on you because you're the man and you got to provide. And finally, you're in a space where a bunch of people understood you. As weird as it is, I get it because it's just people seeking community. Now, some of the people that run them camps,
They're a little
little,
crazy.
little January 6th vibe-ish, but I understand why men would even pay $200 to cry in the forest with a bunch of dudes and flip dump truck tires up and down a hill because you need connection. And I don't know. I just felt like, oh, this might be funny because when you look at the retail experience and that was forced social interaction,
Mhm.
you know, like I don't even think it made it into the special, but like jokingly, the only two places where it feels okay to talk to a stranger is a sporting event and a protest. And that's because you're there rooting for a team.
I mean, I could not disagree, or I could not agree with you more, especially when you talked about these self checkout. I hate self checkout on the level that is this. It's probably frightening because I'm like, I don't work here. Like, if I, what is the point of me coming to the grocery store if I got to bag my own shit? Like, it's just like,
Yeah,
why did I do this? I'm like, I came so someone else could bag my shit
you
and
work
check
here
me out,
now
and
and you
it's
do it
like.
wrong. That's why I'm glad they steal all that shit so they can bring back cashiers.
I'm saying,
Good.
you know, and I like you. I did. I the grocery store I go to most frequently. I have my three favorite cashiers. I always go to them.
You
Because
got a
like
favorite cashier.
I
That's
do. I
old
have
school
three.
as
I have
hell.
three. Three.
Nobody has that anymore.
I know.
Like that's
I like.
oh,
Yes, I have three. Like I love each of them. Like we chit chat about sports, about whatever. Like it's just like a quick little interaction. You get to hear a different voice than your own, or in my case, a different voice than me and my husband's own. Like you just it's just like a little interaction, and I enjoy that sort of cheers kind of feel where everybody knows your name type of thing. So I hear
I'm at
you
the
about that.
I'm at the age now, Jamel. I don't even get mad if somebody next to me talk to me on the plane.
What? Okay, see, now
Let's
you've
talk.
gone too far. Now you've gone too far.
That's
Maybe you need a dog, Roy. Maybe you need a dog.
where you draw the line.
That's where I draw the line. I'm not talking to you. I'm sorry.
I don't mind it. I don't if they don't recognize me. I don't tell them I do entertainment. I tell them I install home security systems because there's no follow up questions.
But
That's
no,
my
wouldn't they have more follow-up questions? Because they're not like, oh, hey, what do you think about, how should I do my home if I want to prevent, like, really?
It's crazy out there, man. You know, but what you got to get, you can't just get the motion detection cameras. You got to hide one, and like, I will just go on and on. Like, I'll
You
just
got a
pull.
whole dialogue.
Oh, I don't. When I tell you, I'm going down these rabbit holes. When you get to the hotel rooms, turn the clocks to the walls. You got to double check the phones. There's a little stud finder thing, and you can check for signals in the walls and that. Like, and once you start talking like that, people leave you alone.
Mm,
You got to
interesting.
like be really crazy.
Well, Roy, before I get you out of here, since you are the king of being able to answer sort of random questions, this is a question I've been dying to ask you. Okay, if we had like a UFC type fight between an employee from Spirit Airlines and an employee from Waffle House, who wins and why?
Waffle House off reps alone. Um, Waffle
Spirit though, they
House.
getting some reps in though, Roy. They get some reps in.
Yeah, but I think the thing we have to remember is that most of the time with the Spirit videos, it's the passengers fighting. Whereas you don't really see the flight attendants from Spirit jump in all the time. Whereas at Waffle House, that cook is going to be right there in the middle of it. You saw that girl catch that chair like a damn Avenger. Threw that chair and she caught it like, what you going to do with that besides make me mad? I think if we go in customer for customer, though, I think a more fair matchup is Spirit customer versus Waffle
Mm.
House customer.
Ooh, who you got in that?
I think the Spirit person wins only because when you're traveling, you're already angry. So that's like steroids. Like when you angry, like when you dealing with the anger of travel, and then somebody piss you off, because you also got to remember, like Waffle House fights, if you ever been at a Waffle House when a fight start, it start real fast. Like the customers already come in irate and then it just jump off. Spirit, you've been fucked with in the parking lot. They've charged you for luggage. Then you go through TSA and taking your shoes off. You're getting pulled to the side, secondary search. Then you get to the gate, and then you find out you got to pay an extra $30 for this carry-on bag, and you didn't know that. Then you find out the bag don't fit. Now you got to pay another $30 to check the bag under the plane. Then they telling you you don't have an assigned seat, and then somebody come up to you talking crazy. You're already charged up. Like it's like, this is a terrible analogy because it wasn't the best villain, but it's Jamie Foxx in that Spider-Man, Electro, where you just getting charged up, and then the more you hold the electricity, the stronger you get. That's a Spirit Airlines customer. By the time you find a Spirit Airlines customer who's ready to fight, they have gone through so many gauntlets of bullshit to get to that point. They have super strength that I believe would supersede whatever alcohol is in the bloodstream of a Waffle House employee or Waffle House customer.